A very good evening to everyone. I hope I am audible to everyone. I am sharing my screen.
Yes, ma'am. You are audible.
Thank you. I am Priya Tapwal, doing PhD under the supervision of Professor Sudeep Mishra at IIT Kharagpur, and today we are here to discuss the concept of Introduction to IoT, which is your NPTEL course, and today we will discuss the concepts which were taught in week 8, and after that we will discuss some questions of week 8. So in the previous session we have covered the concepts of SDN, that is your software defined network, and today we will continue with your software defined network, and after that we will study some concept of your cloud computing. So first of all we will discuss that what are the various problems which are faced by your traditional mobile network, and why your SDN is not applicable to your, why conventional SDN is not applicable to your mobile network. So basically, in case of your mobile network, mobile networks are difficult to scale, as we know that the mobile networks are in case of your mobile network, the conventional SDN is static, and it will be inflexible to manage the mobile traffic with high demand with the help of your conventional SDN. Further, it will be difficult to manage your mobile networks with the help of SDN, because many times it will lead to misconfiguration. Third one is inflexible. Since a mobile network require too much time to introduce new services as the hardware architecture, in case of your SDN, the hardware architecture is inflexible with your mobile network. And last one is cost expensive. In order to implement your SDN in a mobile network, it requires heavy capital expenditure as well as your operational expenditure. Now consider this diagram. Consider that this mobile device wants to establish connection with your this node, and along with this antenna or this node, it will also get interference from the neighbor node, due to which there will be some noise. So this is the formula of signal to noise ratio which is given by this. So here S is the useful signal which is received by this mobile user from this antenna, and here N is the noise which is received by your user equipment from the neighbor node, and here I is the interference. Now SDN for your mobile network. So first is flow table paradigm of SDN. As I have already discussed that in SDN we need flow tables in order to tell the flow, in order to store the flow rules, which will tell that which path or which route your data should follow. It should be well suited for end-to-end communication over multiple technologies such as Wi-Fi, 3G and 4G. So in case of your mobile network, the flow table should be suited for end-to-end communication. Second, logical centralized control. Since in case of your SDN there is logical centralized control, but which is particularly useful for efficient base station coordination for addressing inter-cell interference. Third one is your path management. So data can be routed based on the service requirement without depending on the core routing policies. Last one is network virtualization. So it is required to virtualize your network, so that as we have discussed that in case of your in case of this diagram, this mobile equipment is facing interference from the neighborhood base station or neighborhood antenna. So in order to prevent this from happening, we need network virtualization, so that the particular user equipment will get only signal from the associated or the assigned network to that particular device. So it helps in abstracting the physical resources from the network services, and further it also helps in providing seamless connectivity and service differentiation among the user. This second point I have told, that in case of your SDN in mobile networking, network virtualization helps in providing different services among different users. So in that case, this user will not receive any kind of interference from the other base stations which are present in the neighborhood. Now this is the diagram. Wait, some people wants to join. So this is the diagram showing that how your SDN will be implemented to your mobile networks. So it required ANDSF, which is Access Network Discovery and Service Function. It is required in order to implement your SDN over your mobile networks. Further, what are the key benefits, why we need to implement SDN in mobile networks? So first benefit is it provides centralized control of devices manufactured by multiple vendors. So in mobile networks also the devices are from different vendors. So in order to provide centralized control to these devices, we need SDN. Second benefit is high rate of integration of new services. So with the help of SDN, it becomes easy to integrate new services, as we don't need to write long codes over different devices again and again, as there is centralized control. So we only need to make changes over one particular place. Third one is it provides abstracted network control and management. Now rule placement and at the access devices. In the last session we have studied that how to place, what are the challenges that we faced in order to place the rules over your flow table, and what are the different algorithms that we can use in order to place your rules in the flow table. So the algorithm which is used in order to place the flow rule in your flow table is your open flow. However, in case of your mobile networks, the journal open flow protocol or the conventional open flow protocol does not support your wireless networks. So we need to make some changes in your conventional open flow protocol so that it should also support your mobile network. So modified version of OpenFlow is required. Typically users are mobile in nature, so your network is highly dynamic. So that OpenFlow protocol should consider the dynamicity of your network. Next point is further frequent changes in rule placement is also required. Since the network is dynamic, due to which there are changes in the network, which also leads to changes in rule. So in case of your mobile network, we require to make frequent changes in the rule, and further we need to make changes that how to place these rules in the open flow table. Next one is presence of heterogeneous devices in the network. In mobile network there are various heterogeneous devices, so your new open flow protocol which should support your mobile network should also consider the heterogeneity of the devices. And next point is how to support such heterogeneous devices in a single platform. So that protocol which is suitable for your wireless network should also consider that how to manage all the heterogeneous devices in a single platform. So what are the various approaches or what are the various protocols that we can use instead of your open flow protocol in your mobile networks, mobile wireless networks. So first one is your ODIN, ODIN, second one is your UB flow, and third one is your MOVI flow. So in case of your ODIN, an agent is placed between at the access point to communicate with the controller. In the previous class we have studied that between your hardware switch and there is API between your hardware switch and your controller. So along with that API we have in case of your ODIN, we will place a controller which will make the communication between your controller and your hardware switch possible. So this ODIN agent will consist of your one is ODIN agent, which is placed at your access point, that is your hardware switch, and second one is your ODIN master. So this ODIN master will be placed at your controller. So the communication between your hardware switch and your controller will take place with the help of this ODIN agent and ODIN master. So basically these two will communicate with each other, and with the help of these two, your switch and your hardware switch and your controller are going to communicate. Now these are the type of messages or messages which are exchanged between your ODIN agent and ODIN master. So you can go through these here at your ODIN agent we also need to place light virtual access point. So with the help of this access point the connection is established with the ODIN master. Now second protocol was your OB flow. So OB flow is responsible for the mobility management of your software defined IoT devices. It is scalable and control your APIs which are present between your controller and your hardware switch. And the next property of your OB flow is your fault tolerance. Next, it is also responsible for flow scheduling, which also consists of your network partition, network matching, load balancing. Basically these algorithms are the algorithm which are proposed by various researchers. These are the research papers and these methods are taken from various research papers. So if you want to know more about these methods, you can go through these research papers. Next one is your MOVI flow. MOVI flow is a proactive rule placement depending upon the user movement in the network. So what is the approach followed by your MOVI flow? So it predicts the location of end user at time t+1 while the user at time t. For example, at 5:40 p.m. It will predict the location, because in case of your mobile network every second or at any moment of time the devices may change their location. So at a particular time it will predict the location of the end user of the next instant of the time, and further on the basis of that location it is going to decide that how to place the flow rules at the APIs which can be associated to the user based on their predicted location. Further location prediction. So it follows order K Markov predictor in order to predict the location, and it follows linear programming based method in order to place the flow rules over into your flow table. So rule placement at the backbone network. So existing rule placement scheme for wired network can be used in case of your mobile network also. Load balancing is an important issue due to dynamic nature of your IoT network. And third point is dynamic resource allocation can also be integrated with your existing rule placement scheme in case of your wireless mobile networks, that is your IoT network. Now data centric networking. So data centric networking In data-centric networking, we consider basically two types of flows of data. First one is mice flow and second one is your elephant flow. So as the name suggests, mice mean mouse. Mouse is small in size. So this mice flow consider the small flow of data. However, your elephant flow consider the large flow of your data. So if the flow of data is large, then it is your elephant flow, and if it is in small chunks, then it is your mice flow. Your mice flow follows wild card rules, can be placed to deal with your mice flows. However, exact matches rule are useful in case of your elephant flow. Now, in case of your data-centric networking, we need to classify the flows before inserting the flow rules into these two categories, that is your mice flow and your elephant flow, to adequately forward the data into the network. Now, next topic is anomaly detection in IoT network. So why do we require to detect the anomalies in the network? So it helps in monitoring the network through OpenFlow to detect any kind of anomaly which are present in the network. This can be done by monitoring each flow in the network. We can also collect the port statistics of the switches. If there is any anomaly, it may generate large number of packets in the network. It can be detected by monitoring the flows. So basically, in anomaly detection, we are monitoring the flows. If there is something unusual, that is if the flow frequently increases, or if there is change in the flow, then we can detect that there is some anomaly in the network. Or we can also detect the anomaly by checking the statistics of your switches. Now next is your experimenting with your wireless networks. So these are the two platforms, that is your Mininet Wi-Fi and ONOS, which you can use in order to implement SDN over your IoT networks. Now the topic is cloud computing. So what is cloud computing? Cloud computing means to provide various resources or infrastructure to the user on their demand. So according to NIST, cloud computing is a model for enabling convenient on-demand network access to shared pool of configurable computing resources. Resources can be your network infrastructure, server, storage, application. So what does this definition mean? So it means whenever an end user want to access any of these resources, that is your infrastructure, server, storage or application, cloud computing is going to provide those resources to the end user in a convenient manner and at that particular instant of time, if the end user is connected with the network. So this diagram is showing the evolution of your cloud computing, that how your cloud computing evolved. So initially cluster computing was there. So in case of your cluster computing, whenever various jobs or various request comes, then a group of computers work together in order to handle those jobs. So your cluster computing is your various homogeneous computing nodes are working together, which are connected either in a loosely manner or tightly manner. So these homogeneous computers or computing nodes are going to solve those jobs in batches. Next one is your grid computing. So in case of your cluster computing, homogeneous nodes are connected. However, in case of your grid computing, your heterogeneous nodes are which are distributed over a network are connected in order to perform those jobs or tasks. Now after that grid computing, your utility computings come. So in case of your utility computing, packaged resource available for computing and storage. Now last one is cloud computing. So cloud computing, I have already told you that it is a model which enable convenient access of resources, that is your infrastructure, server, storage and application, and it is ubiquitous. So what is ubiquitous? Ubiquitous means the computing which is present everywhere. So why cloud computing is ubiquitous? Because any end user from anywhere can access the resources with the help of cloud computing if the particular user is connected to the network. Next feature is dynamic. So why dynamic? Dynamic means it is always changing. Cloud computing is dynamic because the end users can change the requirement. So for example, at a particular instant of time, your end user wants 5 units of resources. At the next instant of time, he may use 10 units, and with the help of cloud computing, he can get access to the required number of resources. And third one is your on-demand access. So whenever end user want to access the resources, he can access the resources with the help of network. Now the evolution of the cloud computing. This figure is showing that how your cloud computing evolved. So basically in 1950s, your time shared mainframe computers were there. After that, in your 1969, your ARPANET comes into picture. Then in 1970, your virtual machines comes into picture. Then in 1990, expansion of the internet, that is your inception of VPNs, virtual private networks come into picture. Then in your 1996 and 1997, your cloud computing was invented, or it comes into picture. After cloud computing, your Salesforce.com come, and then in 2002 Amazon Web Services comes, then your Amazon EC2, then your Google App Engine. This figure shows that how your cloud computing evolved and what are the various technologies which comes after your cloud computing. So what are the various features of your cloud computing? So first one is it can be envisioned as a step on from utility computing. It provides high level generation, that is abstraction of computation and storage model. It can be rapidly allocated and released with low management efforts. It has some essential characteristics, service model and deployment model, which we are going to study in the upcoming slides. And after that, it provides on-demand service that can be accessed from any place and at any time. Now, what are the business advantages of cloud computing? So with the help of your cloud computing, there is nearly zero cost for upfront infrastructure investment. For example, if in a business, in order to perform a particular task, we need infrastructure or we need hardware, right? But we need to purchase the hardware, and in order to purchase the hardware, it requires high amount of cost. But with the help of cloud computing, the cost is cut down to very low price. So whenever a particular user want to use any kind of hardware, he will access that hardware only for particular amount of time, and he only have to pay for that hardware only for that amount of time. However, in case of your without using your cloud computing, in order to perform the task, he has to purchase the hardware, even if he has to use that hardware for 1 hour. so he has to purchase the hardware, and the cost of the hardware is high. So that's why your cloud computing cut down the cost nearly to zero. Second one is real-time infrastructure availability. So whenever your end user want to access the resources, he can access the resources in real time, but the condition is he should be connected to your network. Third one is more efficient resource utilization. This is what I was talking in your point number 1, because for a particular amount of time, whenever a user want to use the resource he will use, and after that any other user can access the resource. That's why the utilization of that particular resource is more efficient. Next point is usage waste costing. So for that particular amount of time you have to pay, and after that no. The next point is reduce time to market. So you don't want to roam in, you don't have to roam in market in order to purchase your hardware if you are using your cloud computing. Now, what are the general characteristics of your cloud computing? So it improved agility in resource provisioning. It is ubiquitous. Next one is multi-tenancy, that your sharing of resources and cost across a large pool of users. Then next one is dynamic load balancing, highly reliable and scalable, low cost and low maintenance, improved security and access control. Now these are the essential characteristics of cloud computing. First one is your broad network access. So the user from any location in the world can access the resources from a pool or with the help of your cloud computing. Next one is your rapid elasticity. So elasticity here means easy to scale up and scale down. So if the user want to use a large amount of resources, he can scale up with the help of cloud computing, and whenever he doesn't need that much amount of resources, he can scale down. So the cloud computing is your elastic. So depending upon the need of user, it dynamically either scale up or scale down. Next one is your measured services. So you have to pay only for the amount of devices you are using or amount of resources which you are using, and for the amount of time you are using the resources. It is similar to your electricity. So in case of your electricity, you pay the bill of the electricity units which you have used. So it is similar to that only. So you will pay the bill for the units of resources which you have used, and for the time of the time amount for which you have used the resources. Next one is your on-demand self-services. So this point I have already explained, that whenever user want to access the resources, he can access. And next one is your resource pooling. So it's not like there is only one or two resources. There is large pool of resources, so that your end user have a view that there are infinite amount of resources in your cloud computing. Now there are three kind of your service models. First one is your software as a service, second one is your platform as a service, and third one is your infrastructure as a service. These three service model we are going to discuss in the upcoming slides in detail. And next one is your deployment models. So your cloud can be your public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud, and community cloud. These also we are going to discuss. Now the essential characteristics of your cloud computing. So first one is your broad network access. These features I have explained. Now I am going to read whatever I have written here. broad network access. Your cloud resources should be available over the network, or they should support standard mechanism for information retrieval using traditional interfaces, and they should also support various clients, which, that is your heterogeneous thin or thick client in the network. Then next one is your rapid elasticity. So cloud resource allocation should be rapid, elastic and automatic. The dynamic allocation of resources should be there. So there should be a facility for scale out and scale in. The consumer should feel infinite resources. Facility for adding and removing the quantity of resources should be there. Next one is on-demand self-service. Provide server time and network storage to user automatically. This facility should be available as self-service. Next one is your resource pooling. So automatically pool the whole available resources, serve multiple end user with a multi-tenant model, and resources should be allocated according to the user demand. Next one is your measured services. So resources usage should be recorded and monitored. Facility to dynamically control and optimize the resource usage. And third one is this facility should be transparent between the service provider and your consumer. Now what are the different components of your cloud computing? So first one is your client. So client are the end user who are going to access your resources. So they may be thick client or thin client or mobile users. So thick clients means the clients having heavy resources, or the resources available to those clients are large in amount. However, your thin clients are the clients which are your resource constrained devices. And mobile, as the name suggests, these clients are movable. Next, your services. So services include your products and solutions, that is your identity mapping, searching. These are the services which are provided by your cloud computing. Next one is your applications. And then after application, platform, storage and infrastructure. These are the components of your cloud computing. And as I have already mentioned, that service as a software as a service, platform as a service and infrastructure as a service are the service model. And if you want to use one standard term in order to mention all these services, then you can use anything as a service. Okay, so anything as a service is represented by XaaS. For example, your software as a service is represented by SaaS, that is SaaS. Similar to that, your anything as a service is represented by XaaS. Now the service model of cloud computing. So there are different types of clouds which are available, that is your public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud, community cloud, distributed cloud, multi-cloud and inter-cloud. So we will discuss about these one by one. So first one is your public cloud. So public cloud is a cloud which is not owned by a particular user or a one user. So this is owned by an organization which offers various cloud services. So cloud setup for the use of any person or industry. So anyone who are connected with internet can access your public cloud or use your public cloud. These are not owned by any particular person, however owned by an organization. The examples are Amazon Web Services, Google Compute Engine, Microsoft Azure. Now the advantages of using your public cloud are: these are easy to set up at low cost, as the provider covers the hardware, application and bandwidth cost. So as I have already told that there is an organization who own this public cloud. So anyone who wants to use public cloud has to give very less cost. Next one is scalability to meet needs. And third one is pay per use, ensure that from user perspective no resources should be wasted. Next one is your private cloud. Unlike your public cloud, it is not owned by an organization. However, it belongs to a particular small organization or a small industry or a small company. It cannot be used by different users which are present over the network. Only the member of that particular organization can use the public cloud. The advantages of public cloud are total control over the system and data. Since anyone cannot access the resources, so it is easy to manage. Minimum security concern, because since it is private, no outsiders are allowed, so the attacks over the private clouds are less. That's why there are minimum security concerns. However, there are disadvantages of your public cloud also, that it requires regular maintenance. Now hybrid cloud, as the name suggests, it is hybrid. So it is a combination of your public cloud as well as your private cloud. So cloud setup constructed by two or more unique cloud setup, that can be a private, community and public. It is pulled together by standardized tools. It supports data and application portability. It provides multiple deployment models. Now these are the difference between your public cloud and private cloud. So in case of your public cloud, the virtualized resources are publicly shared. However, in case of your private cloud, the virtualized resources are not publicly shared. However, only the members of the particular organization can access those resources. And then the customer types. So in case of your public cloud, anyone in the network can access the resources, so customers are multiple. However, in your private cloud, only the members of that particular organization can access the resources. That's why the customer here in case of private cloud are limited. Next one is connectivity. So in case of your public cloud, anyone who are present over the network can access the resources. In case of your private cloud, so either internet or private network which is owned by that particular organization can be used in order to access the resources which are present over your private cloud. Now security. In case of your public cloud, security is low because anyone can attack over the resources. Different kind of attackers are present over the network. However, in case of your private cloud, it is high because only the members of the organization can access the resources. Now the other types of cloud which are present are your community cloud. So it is shared setup between several organizations having common concern. For example, your security, compliance, jurisdiction, etc. Next one is managed by internally or third party. So your community clouds are either managed by a particular organization or a third party is going to manage your community cloud, and various organizations can utilize that community cloud. Next one is your distributed cloud. So it is a collection of scattered set of computing devices in a different location, however connected to a single network. So it is further of two types, that is your public resource computing and your volunteer cloud. Next one is your multi-cloud. So multiple cloud computing services offered by a single heterogeneous architecture is your multi-cloud. It increases the fault tolerance and flexibility. Next one is your inter-cloud. So unified global, that is your clouds of cloud, that is a combination of different clouds based on the internet is your cloud. It supports the interoperability between various cloud service providers which are available. Now the comparison between different deployment models. So okay, on-premise and off-premise, we will consider that dedicated access in on-premise is of private cloud. However, off-premise is hosted private cloud. In case of your shared access, on-premise is your community cloud and off-premise is your public cloud. Now the service models. So there are 3 service models, that is your SaaS, PaaS and IaaS. So basically SaaS consists of your software as a service. So various software which are available or which the user want to use are provided by your cloud computing as a service. So that is referred to your as a software as a service. However, in case of your platform as a service, that is your PaaS, various platforms are provided to the end user as a service. For example, your security, identity, integration, workflow, application grade, database grade, UI services, all these come under your PaaS. And virtual machine, virtual storage and virtual grid, these come under your IaaS. Now apart from your these service model, there is admin service also, which is going to manage all the services which are provided by your cloud computing. So the functionality of your admin service is to do the packaging of your services, configuration, deployment, scaling, life cycle management, utilization, user management. So all the management tasks are done by your admin service. Now first one is your infrastructure as a service. So infrastructure as a service, which is abbreviated as IaaS, contains the basic building block for cloud IT and typically provide access to network features, computer and data storage space. So this is the definition which is given by your Amazon. Now it is it provides on-demand delivery of your computing infrastructure. So it can provide servers, machines, storage, network and operating system. So inside your infrastructure as a service, these are the various resources which are provided by your cloud computing. Then the working methodology of your infrastructure as a service. The user rent the server, software and data center space or the network equipment. The cloud service provider offers resource management and the outsource service on-demand model is applied. Now why infrastructure as a service is required? Why there is a need of infrastructure as a service? So it for the new businesses, can operate without investing on the computer hardware. They don't have to purchase their own hardware. They can access the hardware with the help of cloud computing. The next one is scalable for rapidly growing businesses, suitable for serving fluctuating computing demands. The next one is suitable for new businesses model trial. It also helps in minimizing the capital expenses. Now these are the various characteristics. First one is your manageability and interoperability, availability and reliability, accessibility and portability, and the last one is performance and optimization. So what are the different categories of your infrastructure as a service? So inside your infrastructure as a service, your public cloud is there. So shared infrastructure resources which are available on service self-service basis are there in your infrastructure as a service. Then your private cloud is also. So in case of your private cloud, various infrastructure resources or hardware resources you can access under your infrastructure as a service. Then a hybrid cloud, that is a blend of your public and private cloud, comes under your infrastructure as a service. Then the challenges and limitations of your infrastructure as a service. Sometimes the regulatory approval does not allow outsourcing the storage and processing of sensitive data. Next one is network latency may degrade the level of expected performance. So sometimes we need to perform various operations in real time. However, if you want to access the resources from your cloud, then due to some network problem, we are not able to get the resources in real time, which may lead to various problems. So in that case, the performance of that particular system where we are using the cloud computing, it will degrade. Now the user may require automated decision making of job scheduling to available resources. So since there is a large pool of resources available over your cloud, so in order to fulfill the needs of all the users which are present over the network who are accessing resources, there is a need to schedule jobs so that the resources are available to every user which are present over the network. Next one is your seamless scaling of services independent of traffic variation. It is difficult to achieve. Then next one is developer have to focus on low level system details. Now the next one is platform as a service. So in case of your infrastructure as a service, you are providing hardware to the end user as a service. Now in case of your platform as a service, you are providing whole platform to your end user where your end user can run their applications, right? So according to your Amazon, platform as a service remove the need for an organization to manage the underlying infrastructure and allow you to focus on the deployment and management of your application. So your platform as a service provide complete platform, so the end user don't have to purchase anything, they don't have to set anything, they just have to access the resources by using platform as a service. They are going to get complete platform, and over that platform they can deploy their application. Platform as a service provide a platform which allow the developer to create their application, which can be offered as a service by internet. It simplifies the application development and deploy, providing Cloudflare features. PaaS is an application middleware offered as a service to the developer. It provides abstraction and security for the deployed application. It facilitates deployment, development and managing application without the complexity of maintaining and underlying infrastructure. It also allows the customer to rent virtualized server and associated services. It provides elastic scaling of users deployed application. Now these are the various features of your platform as a service and the advantages of your platform as a service. So under your platform as a service, you can access your operating system, server side scripting environment, database system, server software, sports, storage, network access, tool for design and development, hosting you can do. Then the advantages are there is a facility for accessing key middleware services without worrying about the underlying complexities, ease of access for the development and deployment of tool, freedom from managing development and deployment tools individually. Now next one is your software as a service. So in case of your software as a service, you are getting various softwares as a service to the end user. So software as a service provide you the completed product that is run and managed by the service providers. It is a simplified model of software delivery over the network. The operation, maintenance and technical support is provided you have to pay for the amount of time you are going to use that particular software. The remote access of the software is available with the help of your internet. The facility for access and control of commercial software by internet, and multi-tenant application delivery. So at a particular amount of time, different user can use that particular software. So these are the differences that you can go through between your traditional software and the software which you are accessing with the help of your software as a services. Now the architecture, please go through these points. It is easy. Now the limitation of your software as a service. Since various softwares are present at a centralized location, so there is a centralized control. There is a switching cost is there in your software as a service. Then limited flexibility, data security and privacy is an issue in your SaaS. Now this is the diagram showing the comparison between different service model. So in case of your, for example, in case of your traditional architecture, these are the different resources that is required by your user. So in case of your infrastructure as a service, the virtualization of server, storage and networking is provided by your service provider. However, the user should have application, data, runtime, middleware and operating system. In case of your platform as a service, except your application and data, all the things are provided by your service providers, that is your middleware, runtime middleware, operating system, virtualization, server, storage and networking. And in your software as a service, all the resources which are required by your user is provided by your service provider. Now service management and security. So service management and security. Service management deals with the world. In case of your cloud computing, there is a need of service management in order to ensure optimal performance and efficiency in on-demand virtual environment. It aims to provide equal importance to the desired outcome of customers. So there should be proper scheduling between different users and scheduling of resources, so that all the users which are available on the network and accessing for resources get equal opportunity to access the resources. Now the management of services at no cost and risk. So these are the objectives, that is to provide standard services, clear and complete description of services should be there, usage monitoring and billing should be there, high availability of network and connectivity should be there, then ease of access, portal for service selection, rapid fulfillment, service guarantees, secure computing and storage should be there in order to achieve your service management in cloud computing. Next topic is your service level agreement. So it defines the non-functional requirement expected from the service provider. So functional requirement are all those resources which are required by your end user. However, your service level agreement defines the non-functional requirement, that can be your warranty, utility and quality of the services which are provided by various service providers. Then accounting and billing, this I have already told you that for the amount of resources that particular user is using, and for the particular amount of time you have to pay the bill. Now these are the difference between your traditional scaling of hardware and your cloud and in case of your cloud computing. So in your traditional data center, there are heterogeneous hardware, network computing and remote servers are there. And in case of your cloud computing, your resources are available, not available at the end user, however they are at off premises A virtual hosting solution is there. Heterogeneous hardware, software and networks are available over your cloud network. Then the major differences include your cloud computing is elastic and resilience. Then it is flexible and scalable. There is automation in your cloud computing. The running cost, you only have to pay for the running cost and security. The data which you store over your cloud computing is secure. So cloud computing also provides security. Then managing data in your cloud. So please go through these as we have very less time left. So I'll directly go to the question. As I have mentioned that cloud security also provide cloud computing also provides security to your data. So it provides security to your infrastructure. Network level security is also available. Then host level security is there. Application level security is there. Data security is there. Main objectives of providing data security is confidentiality, integrity, availability. Right. After that, identity and access management. This feature is also available in your cloud computing, so that there is a proper identity management of the users is there, so that there is no kind of fraud that can occur in case of your cloud computing. So please go through these slides. I'm directly going to questions. So first question is, which of the following is an issue relevant for communication in wireless sensor network? Options are diffusion, interference, diffraction and inheritance. Anyone? Yeah, interference. So interference, as I have already told in the first slide, that due to the neighbor antenna or the neighbor base station, the wireless sensor networks may face interference. Next one is, in cloud computing paradigm, the user does not have availability to on-demand services. It is true or false? Anyone? This is false, because in case of your cloud computing, a user can access the resources whenever he wants to access. The condition is a network should be there. Next one is, which among the following can be rented as utility service by client remotely in cloud computing? Options are hardware, software, memory and storage, and all of these. Right. Next one is, when you are accessing Google Docs and Microsoft Word online for accessing the features of a document, writing software from your browser without specifically installing them, which cloud service model you are using? SaaS, PaaS, IaaS and DaaS. What? Which option? So these come under your software as a service, because your Google Docs and Microsoft Word, these are your word processing softwares. Next one is, in cloud computing service model, what does XaaS stand for? Security as a service, connectivity as a service, network as a service, anything as a service. No, it is anything as a service. This I have told you that anything as a service is a collective term which is used to mention all the three service models which are present. That is your software as a service, infrastructure as a service and your platform as a service. In order to refer all the three service model collectively, then you have to use anything as a service. Then next one is, Microsoft Azure is an example of blank service provider. Options are SDN, cloud computing, batch computing and operating system.
Yes,
Why
Cloud
SDN?
computing.
What?
Cloud computing.
Yeah, option B. So Microsoft is your cloud computing service provider. Next one is no virtualization is used in cloud service provisioning. True or false?
False.
Yeah, because virtualization is there in your cloud computing. So it is false. Question number 8. What does DBaaS stand for in cloud computing service model? Option are disk as a service, database as a service, distribution as a service, data buffering as a service.
Database as a service.
Right, it stands for database as a service. Next is okay. Suppose a hospital that deals with sensitive patient data want to have cloud support for all its computer, but it wants to set up its own secure cloud infrastructure. This is an example of which of the following models? Public cloud, hybrid cloud, private cloud, none of the above.
Public cloud.
Why public cloud? What? Can you please give explanation that why you said public cloud?
We can access the data.
It is mentioned that the data is sensitive, so you require more security. Yeah, it should be private cloud, so that anyone present over the network cannot access your private data. So it will be better to use private cloud. Now what does CIA in cloud data security stands for? Confidentiality, integrity, availability. Second one is your confidentiality, inheritance, automation, congestion, integrity, authentication, criticality, integrity, accountability. Yeah, right. So C is confidentiality. So the data which you are storing should not be accessible to anyone. It should not be changed by anyone, so integrity should be maintained, and the resources which are available should be available to the end user at any time. Next one is in virtualization, a hypervisor is responsible for orchestration between the underlying physical hardware and virtual machines being installed. It is true or false?
True.
Right. Question number 12 is for a secure cloud deployment, which of the following are needed to be considered? Network level security, host level security, application level security, all of the above. It should be all of the above.
All of the above.
All security is available.
Next one is Cloud SIM is a type of cloud network, cloud simulator, cloud enhancement, cloud model. So it is an example of cloud simulator. I have given the list of cloud simulators in the slides. You can check over there. Question number 14th is before cloud computing provisioning, the client is provided with the details of various warranties in which of the following document? Service level authentication, service level agreement, software level agreement, software level authentication.
Service level agreement.
Right. Next is Amazon Web Services is an example of open source cloud, deployment cloud, commercial cloud, not a cloud platform. It is a commercial cloud. So these are the questions of your week 8. Please go through these. Today I was not able to complete all the slides because the data was very large. So please go through the slides which are left. Okay. Yeah.
PDF कैसे मिलेगा?
What? You are not audible. Can you please repeat or can you please speak?
PDF चाहिए था. चाहिए था जिस PDF को हम पढ़ाया.
Okay, PDF. Okay, I'll share the PDF, and this is the content which I have taken from the NPTEL PDF only. So there is nothing new in this PDF.
Recording classes is available in YouTube.
I'll give the link also. I'll give the link to the PDFs also in the YouTube link only. So you can go to the description and get the PDFs also. Okay.
किस चीज़ पे भेजा गया है? मेरे पास तो नहीं है।
What? Please speak louder.
मेरे पास नहीं है।
आपके पास नहीं
मेरे
है?
पास नहीं है।
See, wait. I'll give you. Give me 2 minutes. I'm sharing.